All right, we are live. Hey, happy Friday, everybody. Today is October 24th. Tomorrow's trick-or-treating in my neighborhood. I don't know about you, but we're hanging out with, well, you're hanging out with my community manager, the community built by, for, and managed by community managers. As always, you can chat along with us live at our Twitter chat at #CMGR Hangout, where I know some of you are watching right now. Hey, everybody on Twitter. If you like what you're seeing today and you have a great idea for a topic, or you want to be on the show, or you have suggestions or whatever, head over to our website at mycmgr.com. There's a button that says participate. You can click that, fill out the form, and as always, guys, it's your awesome topics, it's your ideas, it's your connections that keep this show running every Friday. So there's nothing the internet loves more than to shame brands. Every time a holiday hits, everyone seems to have some sort of opinion on how brands should participate in those holidays. So with Thanksgiving, Christmas, Halloween, Chanukah, New Year's, all of that coming up, we thought, hey, let's talk about this. So Sherry did a Google search on Twitter. Sherry did a Google search, and the search she did was, how should community managers handle holidays? And pretty much nothing came up. There was a post on Sprout Social's Facebook page asking about if people shut down during the holidays or if they split shifts. There's a number of other, kind of similar topic articles she found, but really nothing about how to handle the conversation itself. So, we kind of chat. We said, well, what's the right thing to do? Do we risk alienating somebody by celebrating someone else's holiday? What's our role as community managers? So let's talk about that. If you could introduce yourselves one by one, we'll start with Sherry, then John, then Garrett, and Dom, and then we'll jump into our questions.
Hey everyone, I'm Sherry and I co-produce CMGR Hangout with Brew, and now happy to have Dom on the team as well. And I also lead community and user experience at a company called Rebellion Media.
Hey everybody, I'm John Koob. Feel pretty fortunate to be on the panel today with all these awesome people. I currently work for Clusterflunk, which is a student site service app designed to create relationships in the classroom and increase students' learning efficiency. And I also work for the University of Iowa Student Marketing and Design.
Oh, I'm Garrett Green. Excited to be here, first time in one, but I currently work in a marketing agency in Nashville, and I'm co-founding a social media agency with a buddy of mine for medium to large size businesses, building communities and making great content for them. Excited to be here.
Hey everybody, I am Dom Garrett at Dom Garrett. Really stoked to be here for week 9 in a row, going for double digits next week. And yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this. I am a co-founder and chief social officer for the Gathering app. Yes, that is a title I made up for myself, and I'm proud of it. And really excited for that. It's an event-centric community platform that I'm building, as well as hosting daily values and podcasts at the Trained Monkey Show with Maya and Emma. And I'm going to stop talking now.
Awesome, and I hear there's this image floating around with your face on it of the Backtweet boys. So
yes,
Mark,
make sure you check that out. Mark,
yeah, Mark
Mark,
make sure everybody saw that. So Mark, if you want to tweet it out so we can all see it, that'd be great. All right, so hi everybody. I am Brew, the director of Awesome with BTC Revolutions, and also co-host here of this hangout with Sherry and boy, we could say now Dom, because he's here all the time. All right, so number one, this is an easy question. How does your company celebrate holidays internally? So let's just start talking about how do we celebrate internally.
I kind of want to throw out, the reason I asked that question is because I feel like a lot of how our internal culture ends up affecting our culture with our communities. So it's kind of why I threw that out there. I know here in Canada we have holidays every single month almost, which is kind of crazy, but I love it after coming from the States where there's 3, unless you're in government or education. So yeah, but for really the only one that we celebrate as a company is we just have a holiday party, is what we call it, towards the end of the year, and then you have floating holidays that you can use wherever you want. But I don't know, I just thought that was interesting.
At least where I'm at right now, did I lose my lower third again? Jeez, oh Pete, I'm the worst today. Um, what I was going to say is the way that my company works, we're pretty much on bank holidays. So here at Tusa, if the post office isn't open or a bank isn't open, we're not open, at least inside of the company itself. However, the interesting thing there is that those are the times when at least our students and the families have the most amount of time and they're the most active and they have the most ability to be on social. So that's the time when, at least my job so far, the holidays that I've had since I've been here, have really been the busiest.
Yeah, the places
Okay.
I've worked before, I feel like we almost try to find excuses to celebrate holidays. Like in the places I've worked, we'll purposely look on funny calendars looking for weird holidays and try to celebrate them. But for the more major holidays, I mean, sometimes we'll throw like a little holiday party and get some food and drinks, the day before we actually have work off for it. But I mean, nothing crazy or eccentric.
What about you, Garrett?
I've worked both. Where I am now, like my main client is a big retailer, so like the day after Thanksgiving, I've got to be in there pushing our the big sale we have going on and stuff like that. But I've worked in like past jobs where they're really big on taking off either bizarre holidays or making up kind of company excuse holidays, like the first day we did something or anniversary of blah blah. So it's kind of both sides of it.
Yeah, for me, at BTC, we have to work the holidays. We're usually covering the shifts. So celebrations more like mass emails with animated gifts to each other, wishing people like Merry Christmas or Happy Thanksgiving or whatever. Um, but I do definitely see from the brands that we work with, they definitely like most bigger companies taking opportunities for time off like around Thanksgiving, New Year's, Christmas, kind of like well actually probably those are your three major holidays like Sherry said. But then you don't usually see time off for kind of those smaller holidays, just kind of the three major. Well, yeah, because Easter, that's on a Sunday, so no one's really taking off for that. So, yeah, probably just those three. All right. Real quick to everybody watching, just remember if you do have any kind of comments or questions you want to ask the panel, just definitely tweet us at the MyCMGR, and we'll try to bring your questions in. Question number 2 is, how aware are you of the various holidays your community members celebrate? So that's an interesting question.
I'll jump on this one because at least my community where I'm at right now is sort of split up into two different ones that sort of overlap. But you have the students that are actually taking part in the program, and then you have the host families that are hosting all of these students. And the host families, honestly, it's pretty straightforward. It is what you would think is your typical American holidays, your Easter, your Christmas, things like that. But then for the students, it's a little different because we do have students from different cultures. So, coming from all over the world. And one thing that we try to do at least is when we're introducing them into our community and talking with them to try to get a good feel of what they need to celebrate or what they actually do. We have probably 400 kids that come over from China and Thailand and places like that where they do celebrate some holidays that are a little different. So, we have to make sure that we are pretty aware, especially when we're scheduling events and things that we do, that we're not stepping on anybody's toes there, and we're giving them, the celebration that they actually want.
I'll go ahead. So for us, we actually have to remember often that our audience is predominantly American because we're in Canada. So remembering things like Canada Day doesn't really matter to them, but 4th of July does. Thanksgiving is in November, even though here it's in October. So little things like that that you wouldn't really think of that are just small differences are definitely something that we have to remember. Part of the reason I thought of this, though, is I remember volunteering at a daycare like a long time ago, and there were students that weren't allowed to be around for any celebrations, including birthday celebrations. So like at times you were, even by celebrating one person, alienating another person. So I didn't know like if that's ever played into anyone's communities or anything. I personally haven't experienced that in my communities, but I did experience it in that situation.
I feel like I've been pretty lucky with the type of demographics for the different clients that I've been fortunate enough to run their social for, that most of the time it's been students and younger people. So just kind of paying attention to obviously the main American holidays where kids are going to have off school or not have class are the important ones. And then kind of like I mentioned in the last question, any like funny holidays, that might be popular on BuzzFeed or something at the moment. And yeah, I know I mentioned BuzzFeed, I probably shouldn't have, but anything that's kind of popularly funny, and paying attention to that and just knowing who your demographic is. And like I said, I feel like I've been lucky enough that mine has been mostly college students for most of the clients that I've ran. So paying attention to what's going on, what's trending, honestly, can be huge. And then, yeah, just like you, Sherry, I feel like I've been really lucky that I've never really offended someone with a holiday post that I've had. But I'm really interested to hear if anybody else or anybody on Twitter has had to deal with that, because I'd love to know suggestions or how to.
Yeah, I feel pretty lucky that I haven't really run into huge problems, but I'm really big on knowing your audience well. And like the biggest client I work with now is it's a cheaper product that retails throughout the Southeast, and so you can imagine the majority of our crowd is either doesn't care about holidays or very religious, and it gets excited if we are pushing Christmas-related things. We still don't go too strong because not everyone is going to be celebrating Christmas, but luckily we haven't run into too many troubles. But I think you really need to know your audience well because of all the information that's out there, and it shouldn't be too much of a challenge.
John, I like that you brought up kind of like the hip and trendy holidays or whatever, just kind of like these goofy ones, because, I mean, if anything, you probably piss off less people talking about Bacon Day than you will about, a holiday that may be semi-religious or, political in nature or whatever,
Wait, Bacon Day isn't religious in nature to you, Brew?
Well, yeah, it is. But I was actually thinking about this the other day with Columbus Day, right? And actually, like the more time that goes on, it seems like there's more and more Columbus haters. And so it's interesting that a holiday when I was younger, you would think, oh, Columbus Day, of course I would post about that. Now it's something like, okay, well, Columbus Day, let's not post about that because let's not stir up the pot of the kind of the controversy going on between Columbus haters and Columbus supporters.
You could just switch to celebrating Canadian Thanksgiving that day if you want. They're the same.
Yeah, I was going to say, Brew, I feel like it's almost community managers, I don't know if it's being smart or scared or both, but just not posting about the holiday in general, whatever it is. And I feel like if you don't post about it, what are the chances that someone's going to say, like, oh, why didn't they have a, Merry Christmas or Happy Hanukkah post? But if you do post about it, I mean, you run the chance of someone being offended. So I don't know if it's being scared or being smart if you don't post about it.
I tend to fall on it's being scared. I mean, I'm one that, John, you and I have had a lot of personal conversations where, I'm all about being very open, being very out there. I would rather have the conversation than lose the opportunity to have the conversation. I don't necessarily play scared and just think, I think this might. I mean, I give it my own eye test, and if I think that it's offensive, I think that I can look through a pretty good politically correct thing, and if I go, ugh, and I might laugh at it, but if I think about that they might offend somebody, then you probably shouldn't post it. But something like Columbus Day, I mean, people are going to hate on whatever they want to. I'm not saying Columbus was a good dude. I have no skin in that fight, but it's one of those things where you're going to have people that could be pissed off about literally anything. So I at least don't come from the point of fear when it comes to sharing.
Yeah, we have a saying, with our community managers, which is "when in doubt, leave it out." And because there's so many great things you can do from a marketing perspective. If your gut's a little uneasy about it, you know what? There's other opportunities like, why take a risk? If you feel funny about it, it probably is a little funny. If that makes sense. Today's National Baloney Day right now. Is that true? All right. Well, happy National Baloney Day, everybody. And I have no problem celebrating that with everyone watching right now.
According to holidayinsights.com, it is National Baloney Day.
I love that website. All right, so let's jump over to our next question here, which is number 3. How do you decide which holidays to celebrate within your community? I think we touched on this a little bit, but let's really dig in. What are the holidays we can celebrate?
It's just a weight of the benefits for us. Like when I think about it, like for Columbus Day, I've had when I'm running social for a company, at the end of the company, you need to put something up for Columbus Day, and I'm like, I wasn't really planning to. He's like, no, you need to do. Why was my biggest question, and that there's not, what is that going to do for anyone? And I consider myself a somewhat creative person. I was like, I mean, really, what do you want me? I don't know what to do. I'm not going to put up a goofy cartoon of a guy looking at Indians on a shore, because that's everything you find online, and it just, there's no value there. So it's kind of a balance in weighing in. Is it worth it? Is it going to do well? Is it going to fight off as little haters that we could possibly get?
I think this is kind of a way to edge around this question, the deal in general, but celebrating the actual seasons of the holidays, like in the winter saying Happy Holidays as opposed to Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, etc. And then, when it's fall, Thanksgiving time, saying Happy Fall, Happy Autumn. But yeah, as far as specific holidays, 4th of July is a safe one. You can't even call Christmas a safe one, really. Yeah, anything non-religious really is a quote-unquote safe one, I think.
Yeah,
Unless
but
your community is religious.
Yeah, and even defining something as religious depends on the community too, because some people don't associate Christmas with anything religious and others do, so it kind of depends for sure. And then even with your seasons, it depends too. Do you have a super international audience, because seasons are different around the world? So
That's so
that
true,
was something
too.
when I was at Sweet Tooth, our community was literally worldwide, and so it could be a completely different time of year for someone than it was for us. But there, what we always did was just kind of when I was at Sweet Tooth, we would celebrate mostly North American holidays, but we would kind of just get everyone getting to know our team through it. So it'd be posting. We had these little monsters that were part of our branding, and so I would just always make them do something entertaining with the day, and then everyone would retweet that, and they loved it. But here I work with, I didn't mention the communities that I work with are all chronic health condition focused. There's 34 of them, and so we actually have a calendar where we go through and looking for all of the World Psoriasis Day or National ADHD Awareness Month or whatever, and we have a whole calendar full of just those awareness holidays. And that's one thing that we really are able to focus a lot of community discussion around, because that's what we're helping them do, is raise awareness for whatever it is that they're experiencing. So it's a huge opportunity for us to actually connect with them as well as promote that. And then in addition to that, we take a lot for granted, I think, just being healthy when we're experiencing holidays with friends and family, and so that's another huge opportunity to open up that discussion. Hey, you're going to be around a lot of people that don't understand you, but you love them. How do you explain what you're going through? Or how do you say, no, I'm too tired for this, or I can't eat that because it's going to like possibly risk my life, even though it's normal for you. And so there's just a lot of opportunities for conversation in our case that are holiday based.
Yeah, I think that's really great, Sherry. And one thing that I know that we do at least is, you know, because we can sort of get away with the fact that we have a lot of different cultures. There really isn't any that are specifically off limits. It's just really the way in which we bring it across. You know, having, you know, students from Europe and Asia and Africa and South America and all that, we can get away with saying, you know, things like Christmas. While a normal brand might not be able to say Merry Christmas, you know, we could say like this Merry Christmas from Brazil, and then have this very Brazil-focused post that has, you know, that sort of a thing to it. And even something, you know, as simple as, you know, if you have a post and you don't really have to engage, it doesn't have to be super big, but you Photoshop a picture of a rabbit ears or a Santa Claus hat or something like that on top of your logo, you know, something like that, some leaves around it. It's a way to be able to celebrate the holiday without getting into what the holiday actually means or some of the history behind it. So, you know, I think if you do it in the right way, I don't want to say the right way, but if you just do it in a creative way a little bit, thinking outside of the box, I think it gives you a little bit more leeway to how you can celebrate all of those.
You know, I think the other important thing to remember here is, you got a race card.
Yeah, I always say.
That's cool. Gosh, total squirreled me right there. What? So I think the for me it boils down to what's the strategy, right? There's a marketing strategy. Then from there we extend, you know, social media strategy, a community strategy. So what's the written strategy? And that might have, you know, there might be a bunch of different tactics or evergreen type of things we're going to be looking to do over this next year. But so now let's look at the holiday and how does that fit within our strategy? You know, is it something we need to celebrate? Because boy, it ties perfectly into this pillar of whatever we're trying to do, or that we want to support these types of people in our community, or whatever. You know, I think it's about taking some time to plan, you know, with the rest of the company, so that you have filters to run those things through. And frankly, I love, again, I'll say I lean heavier towards these kind of goofy made up holidays that could tie back into your product or brand whenever you can, because they perform well in social, if we're talking about just purely social and social communities. But you know, a lot of times people appreciate you telling them about some goofy little holiday that they, you know, not everyone has one of those little calendars on their desk where you flip off the day by day by day to figure out what made up holiday it is today, and just kind of a conversation piece, I guess. So.
Yeah, I know Garrett pointed out it's Pizza Month. I can definitely get behind that one. But I think that's a good point. I think it's something that Garrett pointed out as well. It's just, you know, and really you should be thinking about this with any conversation you're starting with your community, is what is the point of having this? Like, what's it going to do, like, for the environment that you're trying to create, for the message you're trying to get across? Like, if it's not adding any value, does it really matter? Like, do you even need to worry about it? Like, I see so many brands jump on things that they don't need to be a part of the conversation. It's not related to them. It's not related to their community. Like, it's doing nothing beneficial for them other than it's a trending hashtag. Is that really enough?
Yeah, I feel like that's a mistake. It's not just like, oh, well, we did this and it doesn't really matter. I feel like that's an actual mistake that brands make, is hopping in on things like that just because they're trending, just because there's a quote-unquote chance of, you know, a tweet going viral or something like that, or getting some traction off it. Yeah, if it's not providing value right away, or if they don't know their audience well enough to know whether or not it's going to provide value, then I don't think they should be posting it in the first place.
But John, what if it's towards the end of the month and your vanity metrics are lower than normal and you kind of need that boost? I mean, then surely it's okay to jump on
I mean, if you got to meet your quota, then yeah, by all means.
Hey, I know a guy that can get you some of those engagement numbers up. So.
Hey. There's a few more followers.
Yeah, but I mean, even what you guys are talking about, I mean, really, it's interesting and it's funny, but it's to be expected. It really boils down to paying attention to your community. It boils down to knowing the people that you're actually working with and talking to every day. And you can, if you're paying attention to what they're saying, and then you're actually making sure that you're going, you know what holidays they're going to be celebrating. And if there is things that are coming up and you don't know, it's really fine to ask the question, to just straight up ask, like, so what do you guys normally do for the holidays? What do you guys normally do this time of year? That kind of stuff. Do you have any traditions? Because you're asking that question, and you could have your community talking about the holidays without you actually being the one that's talking about it. So, it makes it so it's not as much on you, but you're just throwing it out there, and they're having the conversation. So.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. That's something that we do a lot, like with anything we're sharing, really, in our community, because, like I said, because it is like health based, like there's the different health conditions just manifest so differently with every single person, and so you can't assume that just because this person is affected by X, so is this person in the same way. And so a lot of what we share and a lot of what we talk about is not really telling them specifically about something, but asking them about it. Almost everything we do is a question.
All right, I'm going to quick bring in a tweet here from Josh, Josh Barraza. Hopefully I'm saying your name right, Josh. Josh asks, how many of you manage communities that aren't centered around a brand or a product? Well, I'll answer for you first, which is actually all of the communities I help manage center around brands. Although from an agency perspective, we do have a couple causes that we build a community around. So who's next?
I mean, I think anything can be a brand. I kind of look at everything, whether it's a cause or a product or a company or a person. I mean, I feel like a lot of people that are heavily involved in social, just individually, kind of have a personal brand whether they want to talk about it or not, and you still manage your followers and your community and such. So I think the best way to go about it is looking at whatever it is as a brand, and that will you'll end up staying safe and clear, and you should be able to manage the community best that way if you look at it like that.
I agree completely. And if you've ever followed me, at least on Twitter, Garrett and I, we came together through Gary Vaynerchuk and things like that, and that's, I mean, right off of what I've heard a lot. I mean, if you look at everything's a brand. Every company itself is a brand. I am one, just like Brewer and John and Sherry is. And then we are brands that work with other brands. I mean, it seems a little dehumanizing that way, but at the same time, if you look at it that way, it's easier to be able to connect with those communities and to have a distinct voice and to not be all over the place.
I can kind of throw in a different answer to these. I've ran a few different accounts for a few different projects, personal and business-wise, that aren't necessarily representing a brand. And most of them have been student-based, and it's kind of fun when you're not representing anything official, and you just get to tweet or put out whatever you want and see how people react. And from those different side projects and accounts, I've learned how different communities react and interact with different types of tweets, different types of content, et cetera, et cetera. And from those accounts that aren't really representing anything official, quote unquote, it's helped me a lot with my actual clients and my actual job and what I do.
Sorry, that's me, I guess. I was replying to tweets. I kind of already mentioned what we do, and I'm kind of with Dom on this one. Like, we don't work for a brand that people know outside of our community, but it's a brand because we made it one. So we made like this huge like network website of health communities, and we've branded it as New Life Outlook, but it wasn't a brand before we started it. You have to call the community something. And really we think of the site and the community as a product. We're constantly looking at ways to improve it, and promote it, and really just make it a great place for the community. Like in our case, it is a community-centric product. Like the product basically is the community, which is weird to think of it that way, and I don't really mean that we don't value them, but that's just kind of the way it is. And then, but I have worked also, as John, kind of like John was indicating, I've worked with some that maybe aren't technically aligned with that. The most recent one I can think of is I was helping with a conference in New York, and the conference is hosted by one company, franchised by another company, but really it's like this conference brand that is all over the world. And so it's not, I don't know, maybe it's a brand, maybe it's not, I don't know.
I mean, but what you were just saying, Sherry, really, like that conference at least, it reminds me a lot of this My Community Manager. I mean, yeah. There's a bunch of different brands. We all represent brands. We all are our own brands in that. And then you have, you know, we have Hootsuite people and Sprout Social people and all that kind of stuff. So it's not like there's one specific platform that's over the top. It's just, I've been obsessed with concentric circles recently. And it's just a bunch of those that are all sort of overlapping in a beautiful Venn diagram.
Absolutely.
Synergy.
All right. Oh yeah, geez, we forgot to figure out what our drinking word was for today. Oh well. So this is on topic, but not in the questions. I just want your opinions because hey, it's right around the corner. Halloween, as the brand, as a product, as a service, like when isn't Halloween sort of like pretty neutral, safe, fun, like show us your Halloween costumes type of post? And, you know, like interaction and, hey, you know, like conversations. I mean, everyone's celebrating Halloween, aren't they?
You said that as if it was a trap. Everybody's celebrating it, right? And then just waiting to set it up to drop the hammer.
No trap. No trap. No trap.
No, I mean, I think it's pretty safe. And, I mean, here's the way that I look at it personally is like I don't care if I don't celebrate that holiday. I'm fine with reading about other people celebrating the holidays. You know, some people get into Halloween more than others. And I think that if you cultivate your community with people that sort of follow that mindset, then you can get away with, I don't want to say get away, but you're all right with posting about things like Halloween. You're all right with posting and saying the word Christmas or the word Hanukkah or Easter or all those different types of things or whatever the, you know, giant spaghetti monster in the sky that Emma was talking about on Twitter, whatever that one is. You know, you can post about all those things if you have that community that is open and willing to share other people's ideas, even though they might not be the exact same as theirs. Plus, my Halloween costume is going to be awesome, so I'll share that.
That's what I'm talking about, right? By the way, tune in next Friday, guys, as I don't know what the theme is. Sherry will cover that later, but we definitely made one rule, which is you have to show up in a costume for next week's Hangout. So
Can I dress up like you two, like I was going to last week?
Dress up like YouTube?
No, you and Dom.
Oh, yeah, you could totally
do it. You and Dom and someone else. I can't remember. I was in here with three guys in beards.
It was Patrick. It was an all-beard panel.
Oh, yeah. We were going to do an all-beard hangout.
I had to add the Google effect beard because I felt left out.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into question 4. How do you maintain your brand voice while celebrating?
So I'll just go ahead since I'm still unmuted. For us, it's actually really easy because our brand is New Life Outlook, so our entire messaging, everything we do is about how to have a positive outlook in spite of the condition that you're now managing life with. And so for us at the holidays, it's the same thing. It's kind of what I mentioned before. So for a holiday, your New Life Outlook with this holiday, so like what do you need to think of in order to like explain what you're going through to your family? How do you need to make sure you get enough rest? What do you need to watch out for in like holiday meals and whatnot to make sure that you're still getting the diet that you need, etc.?
I feel like I'm pretty lucky with Cluster Flunk as far as being able to keep my voice when celebrating the holidays, because Cluster Flunk, there's those race cars again. Jeez. Because Cluster Flunk's audience is 95% college students, and that's what our service and product is based around, and I'm a college student, and our voice, the majority of the time, is that kind of playful, like witty, sarcastic, but still super appreciative and nice voice. And I think that I get to pretty much just be myself when I'm doing it. So I feel like I'm pretty lucky. I mean, I can't wait for Halloween to be asking people, what they're wearing for their costumes, like what type of parties are they going to, et cetera, et cetera. Because honestly, I just get to have a lot of fun when I'm running Cluster Flunk. So, yeah.
It's literally the best name. We were talking about it. It's Cluster Flunk is such a good name.
It's Cluster Flunk. Yeah, I love it. Boy, so how do you maintain your brand voice while celebrating? I guess I don't know. It's interesting because to me, I want to answer. Well, the way you maintain your brand voice any other time, right? It's always a challenge. It's always hard to, especially if the brand voice isn't your voice, which, in some cases that's a huge challenge for community managers. But I think, but yeah, I mean, I guess you got to look at it. Does your voice celebrate, and how do they celebrate? That's probably something to add to your tone guide or whatever, as you're trying to get in the character.
And that's exactly what I was thinking too, Brew, because it was super late. But if you go onto the MyCMGR website, I just put up a post from a Hangout back in August or like September or something like that. But we talked about getting into the voice and maintaining that brand voice. And I think if you do have a style guide, something like that, I forget who it was, but they were talking about how their community actually looks at it like, if this brand was a person, what would this person say about it? And if it is a celebrity or something like that, it's really easy for you to be able to figure out how they do it, because they might actually be doing it. If you have someone in your office that really is good, I think it was Josh from We Are Sculpt that had that point. You might have somebody that really fits the brand's voice. So ask that person, what would you say about this? Would you care? Would you say anything? Because if you keep it consistent like that, it's going to be a lot easier.
I'm totally cracking up right now because Mark Rowan just posted this picture of a NASCAR track, and then has a little arrow in the middle and says that that Coop has a great view for the races. And now I just imagined your room being in the middle, and that really made me laugh. Anyway, sorry. He's doing a great job derailing us today.
He didn't even tag me in the tweet. He just said Coop.
Well, don't you have a search for
Coop?
Coop?
Lives here.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Yeah, I would also say, just in voice in general, is Dom, as you were talking about examples. I mean, these are definitely that time to build those examples and bring them back to the brand team or whoever is really in charge of that overall brand voice, to say, hey, this is how we'd like to look at this and train for the voice in social, or or on this platform or that, and make sure that they're giving input as well. So
I mean,
go ahead.
I was gonna make a quick point. I'm kind of having trouble figuring out what I want to say about this comment. I mean, I think that if connecting your brand to holidays, especially things as simple as major holidays, you definitely have a bigger problem of not understanding your brand enough. It should either come pretty naturally or naturally be well, this is completely out of context to bring up this holiday or try to get involved in this. One or the other. If you know your brand and your audience well enough, or you have a true enough vision of it, I feel like it should kind of come to you in most cases.
Yeah, so it feel right basically. And if it doesn't, then don't even try to force it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I feel on it. If it doesn't seem natural, or like you can't imagine a certain couple people or type of people getting excited about what you're going to be talking about throwing out to your community, then it's really most likely not necessary, or you need to change the creative side of it.
Yeah.
I agree with you completely, Garrett, and I think that really does comes a lot with time as well. Like the first time you're going through specific holidays, or the first time you're really working with it, you're sort of feeling out your community. But I know that there are certain people in my community that if I see something, I'm just browsing the internet for myself. I see something on Imager, at 2:30 in the morning. I'm like, oh, they would love this. So I have to make sure. If you have to be looking at your world through the lens of your brand, and sort of immersing yourself in there. Emma talks about, with theater training, getting into the mind of your brand. You really, it makes it like second nature. Slightly schizophrenic, but, it works.
All right, let's talk about people getting offended. Question here is, what do you do when a community member is offended by how you chose to celebrate? I would say if it's just one, and your community is large enough, like don't let it change your entire, like don't let it rock your boat too much.
Yeah, Brew, I would agree with that. Even if you have a huge community and a couple people get offended, obviously you want to reply to those people as quickly as you can. Say that you understand, say that, we take into consideration all religions, thoughts, views when we're posting things like that. And as long as you're replying to them, I feel like in this situation where if it's just a couple out of a huge community, I think as long as you're replying to them and saying that you do understand, you do take their thoughts into consideration, you don't have to say why you didn't post what they wanted, but just saying that you understand, at least replying to them and leveling with them, one-on-one, I think that's the most important part in a situation like that.
Yeah, right. Whip out the empathy superpower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the best move, acknowledgement is huge. I think taking it private really quick. If one or a couple people start hating on something you post, say, DM us, we'd love to talk to you about why we chose to post this or why we celebrate this, things like that. And just getting real personal and to the point with them about why you made that decision and how you understand their point and why you wanted to talk to them about it, to really kind of patch that up, I think is the best way, instead of always handling it in front of everyone to read and see how you're doing it. That's when haters can start to multiply like bunnies.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Garrett. I mean, especially whenever you're dealing with anything, and holidays can be tricky because of the religious aspect of it, and you want something that makes fires burn hotter than anything else. Just ask people about their religion or their political views. But you have something like that. Obviously, acknowledging it. I think acknowledging it in public first is really big, so that people can at least see that. But do take it to a very, very personal level and communicate with the person. Ask them what the best way for you to contact them would be. Maybe they want a phone call, or maybe just an email or a DM would work for them. But try to get to where they are at. But then, at the same time, if they start to be very, very hurtful and they're not paying attention, you kind of have to, if they're outside of the guidelines of the community, I think you have to be very careful there. Just because they're upset, you can't let them just run wild. You have to sort of still try to contain it as much as you can.
All right, well, let's jump into our last question here. And just a reminder, everybody who's watching, if you have a question for the panel, please tweet it in. We'll definitely have time to take a few of those today on air. So tweet. All right, question 6 is, how much focus do you put on the holidays versus regular daily assistance? And Sherry, can you kind of clarify that a little bit and put kind of some context around it?
Yeah, sorry, I had a hard time wording that one, as you can probably tell. But it came up in one of the posts that I did find, and I thought it was a good point. And I think we've touched on it a little bit, just with like, does this holiday actually fit into what I'm trying to do here with my strategy? But it was also talking a little bit more from the customer service standpoint of communities, just like how much do you focus on the holiday versus how much do you still focus on like the day-to-day stuff that has to get done in your community, like where are you putting that effort? How do you balance it? Do you let the holiday take over for that day, or kind of what do you do? Does that help clarify?
Yeah,
Everyone's still
yeah, I
quiet.
can. I understand the question. Uh, I think you just worry about whatever posts you're gonna put out for that day. Like if you have planned posts for that holiday, um, then you put them out. And if you want to interact with a few people, telling them, happy whatever holiday, or reacting or interacting with them somehow about the holiday, then set apart or set the time that you need to do that with them for, and do it, and then do everything else that you regularly do. Um, and I think just as the day goes on, if anything happens, and just take care of it as quickly as you can, just like with any other. I feel like it's just like with any other post you would put out, just as if it was any other part of your strategy. Just handle it like that.
Yeah, I think the big thing here is it's sort of a you're not really going to know until you know one of those sort of scenarios as to how much time you need to put out there. Obviously, one thing that we want as community managers is we want that engagement. We want to have that conversations, those conversations that are happening, to be a part of them. And so if it takes off like wildfire, you might have to push some stuff off that you were planning on getting done that day. It's nice to have, but then again, you don't want to waste a bunch of time and just try to make conversation happen that isn't going to happen. So it's sort of, you have to be able to be flexible on those days as to this might take all of my energy today, or it might just take a small portion and I can go about it just like it's normal business. I think that's really big. As well as, if it ends up being one of those ones that's one of those holidays that's on a weekend, or one that people have off of work, your community might not be as active. It's nice to be there and be putting that stuff up to show that, hey, we're still doing this, we're celebrating as well, but then have that presence on there as well. If that last bit was rambly as all get out, so hope you understood.
I think it's what you make it. I mean, if you sell costumes or makeup or something, I recommend going ham for the month of October on everything you're doing with your community, because that's probably what you rely on for a lot of your sales. Or if you sell little knickknacks that do better around Christmas, I recommend it, or that people that celebrate Christmas buy it, or people that celebrate Hanukkah like to buy it. Well, when that time comes, I recommend going overboard. And if you don't necessarily have that with your business, then treat it like anything else, but just try to make sure that if you are going to relate your content to a holiday, that it's relevant, it's as creative, and it brings as much value as possible, basically, at the end of the day.
Hey, this is from a question before we were talking about, but I did want to bring it up as I was looking for people's questions, because I thought this was just a great tweet from Katie. She says, acknowledge negative comments with understanding and respect, but don't let the voice of a minority drive community strategy. I just wanted to, when I read that, I was like, dang, star it, favorite it, whatever, because I think that sums up a lot of kind of what we were talking about, earlier, which is like, we definitely have to play that empathy card and, acknowledge them, respect them, but, don't let a small number of people who are loud make you feel like you're off strategy or you need to change something. So that's great, Katie. Thanks for sharing. All right, guys. Well, let's see. We got time for some rapid fire questions here. We got first one from Carmela. Oh, shit. What did I do here? Yeah.
What up, Carmela?
We got our veggie com girl. So Carmela says, boom. Here we go. Carmela says, question, at what point do you ask your community which holidays should be celebrated or acknowledged? That's a good question. Who wants to take that?
I think it's really easy to do it at the beginning of a season. Every season has a certain holidays that are pretty much set aside for those. So, you could do it at the equinoxes or the equinoxi, however you would say that. You just ask them, so what do you guys do during the winter? What do you guys do for the fall? What's your spring traditions? That kind of stuff. Then you pay super close attention to what your answers are, and make sure that you note those so that you have an idea of what is going to be good for you to talk about moving forward.
Yeah, another thing you could do is just ask at the beginning of each major holiday's month. Say a December, say a July, a November, an October. Say, hey, what are your guys' favorite holidays to celebrate this month? And then obviously, yeah, pay attention to them. Respect your community as much as you can, etc.
If you're similar to your community, I would think whenever you start thinking about it, if you start thinking about like, oh, I need to start booking a flight for Thanksgiving or something like that, chances are people in your community are having similar thoughts. It's going to be relevant then. So try to think about when they may be coming into their lives.
All right, let me grab another question here. This will be I think this will be this is going to be one that you guys might have a hard time answering, but it's good to get some challenging questions in. This comes from Daryl at the middle. Daryl asks, question for the panel: pumpkin spice latte, yay or nay? Quick fire, rapid response. Let's go.
Hashtag pumpkin spice everything. Yay till eternity.
I'll answer. Daryl, I'm about to link you to my video on Twitter right now that I just did a couple weeks ago with the University of Iowa Student Marketing and Design, where I run around the University of Iowa and ask people about pumpkin spice lattes. It's pretty funny. I'll tag CMGR Hangout. Okay, I'm done.
I hate to be a party pooper, but I hate pumpkin anything. I think it's maybe, and you might all hate me for pointing this out, or maybe you've heard it before, but maybe from growing up with my aunt referring to it as baby poop pie.
Why would she call it that? But I would say
that's what it looks like.
acceptable at best is what I would say for pumpkin spice latte.
I am going to admit that I live like 2 blocks from a Starbucks, and I've never had a pumpkin spice latte ever. I've seen my family buy them, and my son and my wife, they love them, I guess, because they buy them, but I've never even tasted one.
I just got one of these, all right? This was given to me. I'm going to take it and get the biggest pumpkin spice latte purposefully, and I'm going to drink it thinking of you guys that don't have it. I can't even.
Which, by the way, is $4.97, at least with Wisconsin tax. That's how much those cost for a venti. I know that, but I still haven't tried one. All right. So as we wrap things up, Sherry, I know your battery's just about dead, but did want to share a little bit. Let me share my screen actually here. All right. So we promised we'd share this at the end here for our good partners over at Sprout. Here, let me present to everyone. So this holiday, Twitter is partnering with Google Small Business Community, with Hootsuite, with HubSpot, and with Sprout Social, and they're going to host a series of free digital events to help businesses plan ahead and build momentum to go big. So you can learn how to capture early holiday sales and engage in relevant conversations with customers. So you can check out, it's Twitter. Oh Jesus, this is a huge URL. I will read it out, and we will also tweet it out. It's twitter.twim.com/smallgoesbig_webinars. And if you do the question mark source equals Sprout Social, then you give our friends at Sprout Social a little hat tip for putting you onto that website. So if you could tweet that out too, that'd be great. But yeah, so and then so that sounds pretty cool, actually. That's a lot of powerhouses there helping out small business. Next week is Sherry. What's next week? Oh, I got it. Managing community conflicts and controversies. Whew. And that'll be a really fun hangout because it'll involve costumes. It's Halloween, so.
I'm so excited for that. I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. Like, I'm telling all of my friends that are not community managers, like, that would basically just want to have it on mute the entire time because it doesn't make any sense to them, that they need to tune in because it's just going to be fantastic.
Because there'll be costumes.
There's costumes. How do you go wrong with costumes?
There needs to be
The only thing that could make it better would be pumpkin spice, but, you know, some people on here are silly and don't like it.
Let's see here. What else we got as a shameless plug here? Go ahead, Dom.
All right, cool. I'll shameless plug it. Got it. This is what happens when things end early. As you guys know, I've been talking about it. I am starting an app called Gathering. The Twitter is right below, and if you go there in the bio for it, you can go to thegatheringapp.squarespace.com. There's an email list right there. Go ahead and sign up for it. We're in development right now, so we want to give you guys some updates, let you know what's going on. We're going to need some beta testers, so anybody who wants to play around with that. For right now, it is just iOS 8, but, well, I'm sorry, just iOS that we're going to be on. So, sorry, Android users, but yeah, it's a great excuse to get the cool new iPhone.
Dom, does the app contain a Black Lotus?
I have no idea what that means. So
only Magic the Gathering fans just grinned then.
Oh yeah. Oh, by the way, we chose the absolute wrong name possible because SEO is going to be a freaking nightmare. Like you can't find us at all on Google. So just find us through me.
Hear that, Google? Fix it. All right. Well, guys, we'll see you all next week. Have a great weekend. Take it easy. Bye.